Okay, time to kick things off with someone most of you know, Michael Critchfield, ETS Product Manager from KNX Association. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Daphne.
Michael is going to walk us through the key updates in ETS 6.3, highlight what is improved compared to earlier versions, and introduce two very useful tools, the ETS Project Tracing App, which all of you joining the event will receive for free, and the ETS Password Manager, which will be given to one lucky winner. We will also have a Q&A session after the presentation. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the Q&A section at any time. So Michael, floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks again. Welcome everybody to the ETS6 Roadshow 2025. I hope all of you know what KNX is, but on the off chance that somebody does not, it is of course the open manufacturer independent system used globally in more than 190 countries to control all kinds of applications in a building spectrum. What makes KNX really unique, I guess, here is this community. It's the KNX Association with its members, with the partners, with the training centers, and with all of the ETS users that we have globally. KNX, you can think of it as the backbone of your building. KNX ensures the interoperability between all these different applications and devices. And so naturally, that's where ETS comes in. ETS is the software to design, configure, plan, and manage these installations, independent of the size of your project. Are you designing a smart home or a commercial facility? ETS is where all of that happens. And with ETS, there's regularly new updates. We are now on ETS 6.3. And I'm happy to give you today a little bit of an introduction into what has changed, what is new. And so I'd say let's start right there. KNX, the standard is always evolving. There have been a lot of system extensions in the last years, and all of them are covered in ETS 6. We will talk about changes in ETS 6.3. We'll talk about cybersecurity, and of course, I have some takeaways. Now, what has changed in the latest years in regards to KNX? So we have something called segment couplers. These were introduced for increasing the flexibility for KNX partners for creating KNX installations. And what you see here is some examples for how segment couplers can be added to installations. We have one here extending a twisted pair line. You can see that here. I have a twisted pair line and I'm extending that through a segment coupler onto more distance. But I can also do that paired with a media coupler. So also here I have a segment coupler. It's connecting an RF line or an RF segment to a twisted pair line. The benefits of that is that I can have filter tables in here. So I can really control which information goes across the filter, across the segment coupler onto the rest of the installation. With that, I'm controlling also how much traffic I have here. And with the segment coupler, I can also connect, like I said, I can connect directly here instead of having, in the example of RF, having to go back to the main line. So I have a lot of reduced efforts. There have also been added the security proxy. And you are reminded here, same picture, because the security proxy is a functionality built into other devices. In this case, built into the segment coupler. And you see that here, I have normal standard KNX devices here. And on the right-hand side, after the segment coupler, after the security proxy built into here, I have secure devices. So these secure devices are new KNX secure capable devices. They are communicating with encrypted communication. But the beautiful thing with the segment coupler, including a security proxy, is that I can connect that to my existing installation. So even though my devices here are communicating openly, plainly, over the security proxy, the same telegrams can be encrypted and vice versa. So I have the possibility to add new devices to my installation. These devices act securely, but over the security proxy, these same telegrams can be opened and can be decrypted, and then I use them in my existing installation. So the benefit of that is I can continue using my existing installation. I don't need to replace anything just because of that. But especially out here, let's say in the open areas, I can rely on KNX Secure. Definitely worth checking out. And then I mentioned it already. Also, KNX RF has seen a new generation. We now have KNX RF Multi, which I'm showing here with another media coupler, a security proxy, and a segment coupler, all three into one device. And I'm opening here my existing line for RF devices. And these RF devices are KNX RF Multi devices, meaning these devices, depending on existing traffic, depending on the situation on site, these devices switch autonomously to different channels. That allows these devices to ensure reliable communication, while also having one channel available for slow, low energy communication. So this enables highly battery efficient devices. New device types, increased network stability, and energy efficiency. Yeah, how does it all work? I think I made it clear. These devices pack a lot of features in one. So this, for example, is a media coupler and a security proxy and a segment coupler. Same here, security proxy and segment coupler. So KNX devices with these new extensions have become a lot smarter, have become a lot more feature packed, and all of that is still configured by ETS. And ETS makes sure, like I said, with the filter tables, only the relevant information goes across. I can still combine all media types, and with IoT up here, depicted as an example here, I can also have all media types still in one installation. Yeah, mentioning KNX IoT, we have KNX IoT Point API, which is the sensor actuator communication. That is what you're used to in terms of KNX. You have sensors and actuators. And now with KNX IoT Point API, we are bringing this to native IPv6 communication. You can compare that to KNX Net IP that you might know already. This is based on IPv4. And with KNX IoT, we are switching over to IPv6. That enables a lot more future usabilities. It also allows ETS to connect to speak IPv6 directly with these devices. So especially because the IPv6 or the KNX IoT specification can be thread, Wi-Fi, Ethernet, even single pair Ethernet. ETS in terms of Wi-Fi, Ethernet, and single pair Ethernet can communicate directly with these devices. Yeah, KNX IoT is secure, of course it is. It has end-to-end encryption. It is fully interoperable. So for the user in ETS, not much is changing. And of course, the devices are working with one another. KNX IoT is commissioned with with ETS6. How does that work? How does KNX IoT work in KNX? So we see here an example of an integration. So I have an existing installation using an IP router. I'm connected via a switch. I'm connected to a KNX IoT router, in this case, including a thread border router, TBR. And here I have thread devices. And these devices are then communicating via the two routers with the existing installation. Yes. Changes in ETS6.3. We have a new way of signing into ETS. It's a centralized new way, allowing for a much better user experience because I can rely on my browser technology. It also makes it much more secure because we have two-factor authentication built in. We have the Wonder Bar at the top of ETS, and in there we made more prominent a button for closing the project. Why is that relevant? It seems mundane, but really how you close a project is relevant. And because if you use this button here to close a project, it will be opened again the next time the same way you had it closed. Yeah, we do have browser-like navigation. So should you ever want to dive deep into a specific object, and then you want to go back, you can use this back button here to go back to where you were previously. It allows you to find quickly where you want to go and where you want to come back to. Yeah, a lot of changes also on the dashboard of ETS 6.3. We introduced project counters, like you see here. They make clear that what you see there on the dashboard might not be everything, indicating that it might be worth checking out also the deep dive here in the local projects. We show now longer project names, and we show, of course, the synchronization status. Very relevant if you are collaborating with your ETS, if you're collaborating with other users through a shared archive. You can see the log status on each project, and ETS gives you recommendations for how to back up your projects and how to synchronize with your colleagues. Yeah, just mentioning the collaboration mode. You go to ETS settings, and in the data storage section, you have here a checkbox for collaboration mode. While you're there, you might also want to check out the linked folders. Linked folders are a great way of integrating cloud storage services like OneDrive or Dropbox into your ETS archive. And with that, you can share your archive or specific folders of your archive with your colleagues, with your team, with your customers. We have down here also the project access, and we'll talk about the project password app at a later point here. But this feature allows you it allows ETS to remember your project access keys. But we will speak more about that at a later time. ETS 6.3 also introduced quicker licensing. So you see this screen when you first log in into ETS, and ETS shows you all your licenses in your MyKNX account. You can, of course, select a license and activate it, but with control, you can also select all of your licenses or the specific ones that you need. And this really allows a very quick setting up of your workplace. There it is again, the ETS Project Password Manager app. We have with KNX Secure growing rapidly right now. We see that a lot more projects nowadays have passwords. And you need both. You need the project and you need the password. The benefit of the Project Password app is that it remembers the passwords for you. So really worth checking out. Benefit is, of course, you maintain access to your project. And like my colleague Daphne said, that we will have one lucky winner to get a free license today. Yeah, we refined the display of linked groups based on feedback that we received on earlier versions. Of course, ETS knows how to link groups and functions to objects. It was always a split that had to be made whether we are showing more or less content. But with 6.3, we have condensed the view, and we are now displaying the semantics of a function, but also of a plain group address. We have a column for all linked group addresses to make that visible at a glance. Yes, one of the great features of ETS is, of course, also the diagnostics features. We have great bus monitors in ETS built in, and of course, these bus monitors work for twisted pair communication, for IoT communication natively, and also for RF communication. But I mentioned earlier the RF multi having access to multiple channels, and that the devices switch autonomously between the channels. And so it is basically just a technical result that ETS may not be able in one monitor to show all RF telegrams. What you can do is you can use, for example, RF USB sticks, RF USB interfaces to make this traffic across multiple channels visible. Yeah, that warning here just displays that might be the case, that you might have to use multiple interfaces. Yeah, also another update based on user requests. We have a new shortcut to the dashboard up here in the top left, but we also added a little bit of more context. We show here the licensing status and the version of ETS. With that change, with this shortcut to the dashboard, you now have here the plus icon to open more panels in the same project. Maybe you've seen it already. I have seen that there is several YouTube videos from our favorite KNX influencers out there already showing this feature. ETS can offer you, or ETS offers you, to download ETS apps directly with ETS as soon as you have them licensed. So if you log in into ETS and you use the quick licensing feature to select your licenses, ETS will in the next step allow you to download these apps. So you can start immediately with your project. Yeah, of course, we are also targeting simplicity in ETS. There are a lot of features in ETS, for example, the free level groups that were used by hardly anybody, but they cause obscurity, they cause confusion with new beginner users, and they cause maintenance efforts on our side. What we have changed is we removed the option for free level group addresses. If you have a project that is based on free level group addresses, nothing changes. It's only that if you create a new project, that this choice is no longer given to you. On another note of simplicity, and especially linked to KNX Secure, it is relevant that group addresses or that traffic only goes where it needs to go. ETS for that purpose, or KNX devices for that purpose, have filter tables. And there have been in the past, like this checkbox here, there have been crowbars built into ETS to force ETS or force filter tables into a specific direction. The problem with these manual edits of the filter tables was that a lot of times they were forgotten, and they were opening holes into the filter tables that were way too big. And ETS has a much smarter way of doing that. ETS has a smarter way of opening and managing filter tables simply by configuring your project. If you link a group address from A to B to all the devices, ETS knows where which group address needs to go. And with that, ETS can also allow and create all these filter tables. In ETS 6.3, we have removed the option for manual filter table manipulation, and we have removed the checkbox for pass-through line coupler. What we recommend doing is the use of bus interfaces. You can associate group addresses to these bus interfaces. You can also use dummy devices, but by using these, essentially you tell ETS everything it needs to know to set the filter tables for you autonomously. That's what ETS is built for. So we recommend you let ETS do what it can do, so you can focus on creating functionality. Yeah. Also on the note of simplicity, we see in the support channels, we see a change in shift in standard and default topology in projects. So what we created as the new default topology is an IP backbone, an IP area, and a TP line 1.1. The benefits are the professionals will customize anyhow, because no default topology could fulfill their needs, but at least beginners get in default what they will need and what they can work with directly. We have also introduced limitations for unregistered devices. KNX prides itself on the compatibility, on the interoperability of of certified KNX devices. In some cases, unfortunately, we see unregistered KNX devices in the field. Manufacturers have, of course, a use case for creating unregistered devices, and that use case is the testing, is the creation, research, and development. But at some point, all KNX devices, all unregistered KNX devices, should and would become registered and then eventually certified KNX devices. But what we see in the field is this is not always happening. And by that, we are causing incompatibilities, and we are frustrating users because they find eventually they stumble over these unregistered products and they cause support issues because we cannot help. We don't know these products. And in many cases, also the manufacturers are struggling to support. So with that, we introduced KNX tester licenses. So to make use of these unregistered devices, first of all, we show the status of these. So you see a warning such like this. And if you do want, and if you do need to work with unregistered devices because you are a field tester, then the manufacturer can invite you as a tester for their products. Definitely an improvement for the KNX community. Yeah, ETS 6.3 now also shows an extra column for the serial number because it is not directly linked to KNX Secure, but with KNX Secure on the growth, we see a lot more devices have serial numbers, and a lot more users make use of that because of the download via serial number. And with this here now, also I have in-place edit, so I can use, for example, barcode scanners. I can use a camera to add my device certificate or my serial number, but I can do it directly here as well. This column also fills up when I'm doing downloads because ETS requests the serial number from the device. So the benefits really are, I hope you made use of that already, download via serial number. You see the download in progress because, as I said, this fills up quickly. So check that out. And here we come again to the bus interface associations. I'm here on a bus interface 11255, which is an additional address for the IP interface. And I deemed this one here to be used for the visualization. And here you can see I associated 5 group addresses. And with that, it's independent of the bit width, doesn't matter the DPT, but I tell ETS these 5 group addresses need to be able to reach this address. And so with that, ETS takes care of all the rest. It manages the filter tables. And I can then, when I'm done, you see that here, the blue shield, these are encrypted group addresses. I can then afterwards export the interface information. And I can give that to my visualization. And my visualization has all the information it needs to decode only the group addresses I have given it here. So I make my installation more secure by relying on KNX Secure and by opening only what is really needed. Yes, we have introduced the groups sidebar in an earlier release, and with ETS 6.3 we are improving that possibilities. So you can now drop multiple group objects onto a group address here. So that is a bit more close to what users will do. What we also added is a most recent list. So you see here the list of group addresses that you either created or that you linked last or that you worked with last. So especially on smaller screens, I really recommend making use of these latest extensions. It definitely improves the time for commissioning and testing. ETS 6.3, what else? We have faster commissioning because you can now right-click on a number of group addresses and you can write the value for all of them as long as they are of the same type. So with that, you could, for example, turn on all the lighting channels, all the lighting actuators in your group, in your project at once, and test very quickly. We have performance improvements in the archive and in projects, significant improvements. But especially, you can see that here, I'm using ETS 6.3 here, and I can switch between webcams. So let's say I have a meeting like we have here today. I can not use the one camera that I have, but I can switch to another one. We have introduced more search folders, so definitely recommend checking these out because, for example, there's a search folder for download recommendations. So you see here that I have 41 devices to be downloaded because it is not always the case that only the one device that I changed needs to be downloaded. With KNX Secure, maybe other devices are affected. And so it's worth checking out the search folder for anything that needs to be changed. We recommend you stay informed on what is changing in ETS. We have great websites on the release notes, for example, here for ETS 6.3. We have a list of known issues, in this case also in ETS 6.3. And as always, we are providing a software. If you have the need for support, you can request support here on support.knx.org. Secure your project. We need to talk a little bit about cybersecurity. Port 3671. What does that even mean? We see that in the past, it happened a lot of times that users opened port 3671 in their networking equipment and created a port forwarding. We see, unfortunately, that thousands of networks, thousands of private networks have this port open. Why would they do that? Well, it offered a free remote access to KNX installations. But free is not always good. We see in the analysis that a lot of these ports open would even support KNX Secure because there's an IP interface or an IP router behind that is secure capable, at least of IP secure. We have clear recommendations. Close these ports. You don't leave your house door open. Use secure remote gateways. Our manufacturers have great solutions out there. Activate KNX Secure, Data Secure, and or IP Secure. Set up VPNs. You can even enable BCU keys, and you can make use of programming logs. What we offer is a free tool to check your installation. So follow this QR code, follow this link given here to check your own installation. All this tool does is, upon your request, upon your confirmation, it sends a description request to your current IP address. If everything is well, your router will simply ignore this and the tool will tell you, I could not find anything and everything is good. In the worst case, the tool finds a port open and it gets a description request from your IP interface. You then get a warning. Nothing will be broken, but at least you have clarity. You have knowledge that your port is open and you need to act upon it. We have also a free online training on KNX Secure and on Secure with KNX projects. So follow also that link. So yeah, I implore you, close your ports. Yeah, takeaways from this session. Get on ETS 6.3. The latest version always fixes all known vulnerabilities, and with cybersecurity on the uprise, this is critical today. Get on ETS 6.3 for full support of KNX Secure. We have now the support for security proxy, and we have the support for segment couplers built in. Get on ETS 6.3 for KNX Point API and RF Multi to get all the options for your project, also built in. Get on ETS 6.3 for parallel downloads. Especially if you have an IP backbone with many lines, you will see that ETS 6.3 can run downloads in parallel automatically. You can use ETS 6.3 linked folders and collaboration mode for easier project management. I mentioned already the downloads via serial number, so you don't have to go and press the programming button. ETS can identify the correct devices autonomously. And get on ETS 6.3 for access to the Project Password Manager app. This increases security, simplicity, and peace of mind. And now, before I continue with that, we switch to a different topic. I wanted to show you the ETS apps of Project Password Manager app and project tracing. Now onto the Project Password Manager first. What is the ETS Project Password Manager? It's a new app. It's built in as a functionality in an app in ETS 6.3. It increases your efficiency because the tool or the app itself remembers your passwords, or your hashed passwords. And it allows for greater security because you can use more complex passwords, safer passwords, following the ETS recommendations to retain access to your project. Having this app and having fulfilled all the requirements, like having the app, having two-factor authentication enabled, the app then stores project access credentials securely within MyKNX, making project password management easier. Key benefits of this app clearly is you don't need to re-enter your passwords. You only need to enter your password once. ETS will then remember it. The benefit is, should you ever forget it, you can still get into your project and you can change the password. Time saving. You switch between projects often, especially when you also archive and when you export projects for your customers for backups. Yeah, also there, you don't need to enter the password repeatedly. Secure storage. We make sure these projects' passwords are stored securely. We hash them. We cannot decode them. And also, like we said, two-factor authentication is mandatory. And the communication between ETS and MyKNX is also encrypted. And yeah, I mentioned already exporting. You don't need to enter a password for exporting. And you also don't need to enter a password for changing the password. So like I said, should you forget the password, you can change it. And the new password is also saved. Yeah, some FAQ. Can I change the password in case I have forgotten it? I mentioned it twice, but a third time can't hurt. Yes, you can log in into MyKNX, or you are logged in into MyKNX, and you can change the password in ETS directly without even knowing the existing one. Can I or anyone else see the password somewhere? No. The passwords are hashed, and in ETS they are not shown in plain text. If I share the project with someone else via the archive, let's say the archive in collaboration mode, or via export-import, do I need to provide the password? Yes. Just sharing the password is not sufficient. If you want to share a project and the person you're sharing it with also needs the password, you can give them the password. Like I said, if you have forgotten the password, you can change it. So with the app, you retain access to your project. I can give you a live demo. Let me switch to ETS. I have it here in the foreground. And you see here, I have a project here. And if I go to the details, you can see this is a secure project. And you will see I can open the project and ETS will not ask me for the password. Normally, you should have seen the question for the password already, but as you saw, maybe it was not there. Because I am logged in. You can see it here, I'm logged in into my account. I have, if I go to the settings, I have the license added. There it is. It's a license for the Project Password Manager app. And on data storage, I have down here, I have the feature enabled. So all the requirements are given to make use of this great feature. And especially if I work with multiple projects, I have down here maybe more in the archive, I can then switch between projects very quickly. Now on to project tracing. What is project tracing? ETS, since the early beginning, since ETS 6.0, automatically logs all changes made to the project. So there's a chronological order of all the changes that were made. It provides, upon request, a detailed history of all the modifications. You see here on the right-hand side a screenshot of what that looks like. What are the benefits? You can go back to an earlier state and you can follow up what has changed. You can monitor the changes made. These project tracing is automatically activated. If you have the license, you can see all the traces, but without the license, it's just being logged automatically. You can trace modifications by colleagues. So you share your project to a colleague or to a customer, and you can track all the changes that have been made once it comes back. You can get detailed reports between different versions. And I will show that to you. Yeah, like I said, you can compare, and then you can get a report on the changes between project versions. Like we have it here, two different sites, the one in the local and the one in the archive, and I can compare the changes. Yeah, I said this already. When you hand over your project to a customer, tracing cannot be turned off. This is on purpose. So when the project comes back, you can still see the changes being made. How to track changes? You create a project and you're already set. The traces are automatically being logged. You export your project to your, let's say, to a customer, or you import it to another computer. And on that other computer, you can still see all the changes. Can it be turned off? No. This feature is automatically enabled. It cannot be turned off. But without the project tracing license, you can only see the last 10 traces. With the license, you can see everything. Are those traces available in the project report? Yes. But on the report, you can filter them out. But the traces are still there. Can these automatically created traces be deleted? No. You can delete manually created entries to the traces, but not the automatic ones. Also here, we have a short, quick live demo. I have here my project open, and I can go to the settings of that project, and I have here on the right-hand side my traces, my history. So I can see here, let's scroll down, it collapses it according to the date. So I see here I have 23 entries on that date. I can unfold it. I can see all the changes because I did a lot of downloads here. But I can also go in a deep drill down, and I see here now all the changes in that order. But this is not all. I can also close here and go to my dashboard again. And you see here my synchronization status. This blue tile means that I have locally a newer version than I have in the archive. And if I click on that, I get this little preview here. It shows me local is newer than in the archive. The archive was also edited by myself in early May, so I really should make a backup to the archive. But I can compare the versions. ETS is now collecting the information between the differences, and I need to enter the password here because this was still an older password. I changed the password in between. And you see here now, if I unfold that, you see the changes. So these are the changes that were done since then. Everything else is the same between local and archived. And now, let's say I want to go even further. I want to see a comparison of the contents. ETS is now collecting again and providing this in a different view. And you can see here, no changes found between these two versions because the only change here were the downloads. If I had maybe selected a different project, let's see. No, okay, no different project available. But it shows you then the possibility to view the changes between project versions, and it also allows you to create a PDF export. So you can share that with the customer and prove the changes that you made. Thank you. That's it for today. Like I said, or like Daphne said also, we are here for a live Q&A. So I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Michael. It's clear how much power and flexibility ETS 6.3 brings, and both the apps are a game changer. Before we start the Q&A, a quick reminder. This month we are offering a 30% discount on ETS licenses. So whether you're making a new purchase or upgrading, it's time to take advantage of this opportunity and experience the best of ETS 6.3. Now we can move on to our Q&A.
Yeah, look forward to the questions. Thank you, Daphne.